Kate Robinson, and I work for PG and CP Whitehouse, which is at Bradley Farm at Mitcheldean. And if you want to pick on the employers, they're at the back of the room later on. But yeah, we're based basically on the Gloucestershire-Herefordshire border. And a bit more about the farm. We have a closed flock of 1,000 breeding ewes. We've got pure clins, pure Charolais, and a commercial flock, which we cross them for lambs to fatten, which then go on to the Mayhill group and then on to Randall Parker. We also have 150 head of beef, and we're working up to about 1,000 milking goats now also. And then the other 80% as such of the farm is also arable. So we're a multi-asset farm then. And we also buy in around about 1,700 store lambs, which tend to be mules and Texels, and there are some Charolais mixed in amongst them as well. I didn't actually come from a farming background, but then as a person, I suppose I've always been quite outdoorsy, and my parents have always been quite animal-minded. They've had sort of dogs, cats, horses, chickens, so I suppose the idea for me of being and working with animals isn't a new one. And we used to have the odd sort of orphan lambs and raise them and send them back to our neighbour, to which, and then they were fat and went for meat. So the concept of farming and actually breeding sheep has never been a new one to me, but then I haven't actually been involved directly with farming then until I did some work experience for the Whitehouses. And it sort of at that point I started to sort of get interested in farming, but then I was also exploring other areas within my life. I then went on and went to college and university and did a degree in criminology and psychology, but whilst I did this I also worked for the Whitehouses, milking their goats as a relief milker at weekends. That was probably the start of it, and I don't know whether they realised that, but I then asked whether there was opportunities to sort of transfer within the farm into the sheep sector and the beef sector more. And that was sort of, I suppose, how my interest developed within the farm, really. And although everyone sort of says, well, you haven't done a degree in the sheep industry, and why it seems completely bizarre to do it, for me, the degree, I think, developed my skills in other ways, which actually I can attribute towards the farm itself anyway, which then moves on really into, I suppose, the sort of mindset behind the actual industry itself. Being a shepherd can be looked at as just a job, or it can be seen as a career. It's sort of the mindset which you want to get into, really. And that sort of then goes on to, really, the sort of benefits of actually working for someone else rather than actually trying to set up on your own. So if the first sort of most obvious benefit is actually having the initial capital to set out and set up on your own and go out and do it, it's hard. You're starting from the very bottom. You've got to establish a flock, and actually if you sort of become a part of a farm which actually already has an established flock, you already have the knowledge base there, not only within the senior members of the farm, but you also have the flock which is actually established within itself. So you've got the good breeding history, things which are not so good, you don't have to you can sort of focus on pushing the breed itself forward rather than actually trying to bring the new stuff you're buying in up to sort of on a par with other people, really. But also alongside, the issue of having the initial capital to be able to start up on your own, working with someone else and for someone else also means that you've got the help and support and the knowledge base from them, and they can really boost you into into meeting the right people, and a lot of it's all based around opportunity. Without the support of more senior people within the sheep industry, it's really hard to actually get your foot in the door. You don't meet the right people, and you need to sort of for me, I think the more people you meet, the more people you actually sort of, I suppose, challenge your own ideas and actually help you develop your own flock at home, but also sort of where you want the flock to go. So for me, I think it's probably one of the most, I don't know, prevalent or obvious ways forward for young blood within the sheep industry. And I shall now hand you over to Kevin Harrison.